Do you smell it? Can you smell that? No, 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 it is not the Folgers. We're not talking about the view this morning, so it is definitely not the smell of the toxicity that escapes the whoopee cushion. Come on, get a good whiff of it. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the smell of a rotten lemon. The best part of waking up is seeing Donnie in your tub. Oh, Donnie Lemon! I don't know what has been going on with my friend Donnie lately. He doesn't seem to play well with others. Donnie is bitter, very, very bitter. He gets into verbal altercations with his co-hosts Don Collins and Poppy the Harlow. He turned his back on his former partner in the bongo, and not in a good way either. He was not turning his back as a way of inviting him to the promised land. This turning of the back, it was meant as a betrayal. Don and Chris Cuomo, hey, it's me, Chrissy C. They were the best of friends. Their tag team was called Brothers in Bongo, until Chrissy was fired for defending his brother Andy. At that point, Don became jealous that another man was receiving attention from Chris and removed him from his life. And now, the bitter lemon, he is getting into arguments with presidential candidates. Are you guys familiar with Vivek Ramaswamy? And I hope I am pronouncing his name correctly. Sometimes I will mispronounce names on purpose. If I feel someone has not earned the honor of proper name pronunciation, I will mispronounce their names on purpose. Other times, though, it's just completely unintentional. I am absolutely horrible with names. I have a hard time remembering them, and I have an even harder time pronouncing them. Vivek Ramaswamy, he is one of the Republican candidates for president. I briefly did some research on him this morning. My initial thoughts, I like this dude. He's young. He's about my age. He's an entrepreneur. He appears to be a common sense thinker. He describes himself as the anti-woke candidate. He wrote 2 books, one titled Woke Inc. and the other was Nation of Victims. Sounds about right to me. Last week, he was giving a speech at the NRA. He was talking about the first gun laws that were passed in this country. Now, I did not know this, but the first gun laws, they were passed in 1865. I think they were called the Black Codes. Southern states, they passed these laws making it illegal for black people to own firearms. I wonder why. I wonder why they did that. But the point he was trying to make was that far-left Democrats, they have been implementing policies that have been detrimental to black people for centuries. He claimed that the Civil War was fought to give black people freedom. Now, I'm not an expert on the Civil War, but that makes sense to me. I wasn't emotionally triggered by that statement. Of course, I am not easily triggered, but Don Lemon is. Watch for yourself. You tell me if these comments are insulting.
I want you to raise your hand if you know when the first anti-gun laws were passed in this country. Raise your hand if you do. 1865. You want to know when it happened? We fought a civil war in this country to give black Americans the equal protection under the law that we failed to secure them in 1776. But then you want to know what happened? Southern states passed anti-gun laws that stopped black people from owning guns. The Democrat Party, then as in now, wanted to put them back in chains.
Okay, so Vivek Ramaswamy, he clearly says the Civil War was fought to give black people freedom. That was pretty easy to understand, right? There wasn't anything said that could be remotely insulting. Now, I know I wasn't wearing my woke hat, but I have been doing this for so long, I no longer need the woke hat to think like a shitfuck. I guess I should have worn it though, so I could get a better understanding as to why Don Lemon was so insulted. Oh, I'm so triggered. Why is this white man talking about past issues pertaining to my ancestors? Don? Vivek is Native American. Even worse, the Guardians don't understand my struggle. No one can understand what it's like to be a black lemon living during the Civil War. This segment was almost 8 minutes long. Don Lemon, he remained silent for half the segment, about 4 minutes. Poppy the Harlow was asking questions. She was having a pleasant exchange with Vivek the Guardian. Donnie was silent. He was boiling. His bitterness levels were rising. Finally, after minutes of silence, Poppy looked over at the boiling lemon and said, "Donnie, are you still with us? You're the only one in the room that was alive during the Civil War. Don't you have anything to say?" Don Lemon steps up to the plate, and as expected, it was another swing and a miss. Watch for yourself.
I don't really see what one has to do with the other, especially consider and using the Civil War to talk about black Americans. That war was not fought for black people to have guns. That's not.
That war was fought for black people to have freedoms in this country. Yeah. Actually, that's why the Civil War was fought.
Okay.
And the sad part about it,
that wasn't fought for black people to have guns. I think.
Actually, you know, funny fact is, black people did not get to enjoy the other freedoms until their Second Amendment rights were secured. And I think that that's one of the lessons that we learned.
Black people still aren't allowed to enjoy the freedoms.
I disagree with you on that, Don. I disagree with you. And I think you're doing a disservice to our country by failing to recognize the fact that we have equality before the law.
When you are in black skin and you live in this country, then you can disagree with me. But we're not. You mentioned in here that we have three different shades of melanin.
Don, I think we have to be able to talk about these issues in the open, regardless of the color of our skin. Black Americans today, to say that, compare that to 1865 and 1964,
I think for you to compare it to 1865 and 1964 is actually, I think it's insulting to black people. It's insulting to me as an African American. I don't want to sit here and argue with you.
Did you notice what he did there? Vivek Ramaswamy, he stated countless times that the Civil War was fought for black people to have freedom. That doesn't mean they were given that freedom once the war ended. That doesn't mean that was the only reason the Civil War was fought. But one of the reasons, if not the main reason the Civil War was fought, was to give black people freedom. But Donnie, he doesn't want to focus on that. No. He wants to divert your attention to the G word. Guns are destroying my community. Just look at what's happening in Chicago. Don, we are not allowed to talk about that city. We must pretend that Chicago does not exist. They always want to focus on the evil Second Amendment. Don Lemon misses the entire point. Here's the thing about the Second Amendment. If they ever take away those rights, we have no way of defending the rest of them. The Second Amendment, it was not designed to give us protection from each other. It was designed to protect us from a corrupt government. That's why they pushed so hard to get the Second Amendment abolished. If that were to happen, what rights would they take away next? They're not going to stop. Deacons at Woke United Methodist, they never stop. It's never enough. We went from acknowledging LGBT rights to gay marriage to health care to men pretending to be women. Don Lemon, he then makes one of the most ridiculous statements that I've heard. This narrative is the problem in this country. This is a media-created narrative, and it's created this environment where people are afraid to disagree outside of their own race. Black people don't enjoy the same freedom in this country, and you can't tell me anything about that because you're not like me. You're not a lemon living through American oppression. Okay, let's use this narrative against him. Does Don Lemon own a gun? If not, he should not be allowed to discuss gun rights. Is Don Lemon a woman? Is he attracted to women? No, so he should not be allowed to determine what age women exit their prime years. Does Don Lemon identify as the white man? Obviously not. So he should not be allowed to talk about anything involving the white community. Do you see how ridiculous this sounds? But it gets even worse. The public humiliation of the emotional Don Lemon, it gets even worse. Donnie was insulted, again, that Vivek the Guardian was talking about black freedom. Watch for yourself.
Part that I
Just
find
because you say it's historical fact.
The part that I find insulting is when you say today black Americans don't have those rights after we have gone through civil rights revolution in this country.
You are sitting here telling an African American about the rights and what you find insulting about the way I live, the skin I live in every day.
Here's where you and I have a different point of view.
Black and white that black people don't have in this country, and that black people do have.
Well, here's where you and I have a different point of view. I think we should be able to express our views regardless of the color of our skin. We should have this debate.
I'm not saying you
without me regarding you as a black man,
but
me regarding you as a fellow citizen.
That you're
That's what I
sitting
think we should
here,
see.
whatever ethnicity you are, explaining to me
whatever ethnicity
about
I'm,
what it's like to be black
whatever
in America.
ethnicity I am, I'll tell you what I am. I'm an Indian American. I'm proud of it.
Did you happen to notice Don Lemon didn't talk about any of the freedoms that black people don't have in this country? Am I the only one that noticed that? This is a common tactic in the community of wanker spankers. They make a baseless point without any substance behind it. Donnie, please tell me what freedoms I have that you don't. Name one. If anything, you are given far more leeway. You're given more protection. Yesterday, I showed you guys a screenshot of on-air personalities at CNN that have been fired in the last 12 or 18 months. Chris Licht has been given multiple opportunities to fire Don Lemon. His ratings crashed the entire primetime lineup. According to Donnie himself, he was rewarded for tanking ratings by being promoted to morning television. He allegedly yelled at Caitlin Collins in front of CNN staffers. Now, even though I defended Don Lemon when that happened, he was still protected when others would have been fired. If Jake the Bongo Tapper had done the same thing, you think he's still collecting woke welfare from CNN? No. Donnie's promotion to morning television, it's been an unmitigated disaster. Bitter Brianna Kyler, she was averaging 405,000 viewers in the morning. Don has that number down to a cool 350,000. Last I checked, ratings were the only metric that mattered in television. Don Lemon, he has tanked ratings in prime time and now has successfully tanked ratings in the morning. What's next? Will CNN allow him to destroy the mid-afternoon lineup? Will that be his next promotion? At this rate, Don Lemon is the #1 contender to dethrone Bomani Jones as the biggest, huge, embarrassing failure. And did I hear him accuse Vivek Ramaswamy of splaining? Splaining? Here we go again. Another label, another negative connotation being given to someone when a cucumber connoisseur can't defend his own argument. Anytime they are in a position where they can't defend their stance, they give you a label. He's racist, he's misogynist, he's one of the thousands of mythically created phobias. Sometimes we talk about heat here on the channel. There's good heat, then you have go away heat. Don Lemon has go away heat. This dude is the only anchor at CNN that ever generates headlines in the mainstream media. If I wanted to, I could talk about Don Lemon every day of the week. He is the biggest star at CNN. No one else creates the amount of media controversy that Don Lemon does. Yet, it does not translate into ratings. What does that tell you? It tells me normal people don't respect Don Lemon. He has zero credibility. In the business of media, if you don't have credibility, you don't have a career. Now, of course, Donnie doesn't have to worry about that. He checks far too many woke boxes for CNN to let him go. But give me your thoughts. Don Lemon, emotionally triggered over Vivek Ramaswamy discussing the Civil War and freedoms given to black people. Now, I had to convince the full debate for time reasons, but who do you agree with here? Vivek Ramaswamy or Donnie Lemon? Sound off in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, KC_BTL84 on Twitter. I'll see you guys later.